So, what are some of the key causes of conflict that lead teams to be stressed and burnt out and leaders to be stressed and burnt out? Well, my first reply is, how long have you got? Anything can be a conflict, really. But to be serious for a moment, here's a few reasons that conflict might be arising. One of the key areas is avoiding conflict. I was working with a team recently, and there was a leader, and it was in a healthcare setting. There was a leader, and one of her team was becoming increasingly frustrated, but didn't feel able to speak up because she didn't have that style where she felt able to speak up to air some concerns. And so she was avoiding the conflict, and it got to a point where it just escalated to the point that I'm now helping them walk through sessions to really understand each other's style at work and how they can avoid things in the future. A difficult situation, but great learning for the employee, great learning for the leader, and something we're looking to take into a team workshop to really examine the causes of conflict. Obviously, bullying, of course, that's going to cause conflict. And if you are in that situation where you're being undermined, bullied, then please speak to somebody in HR, somebody that can help you. Clashing leadership styles. Some leadership styles, they're more open to having quite loud conflict, quite robust conflict. Other people are more reflective, sit back, and there's everything in between. So there's so many different leadership styles. I use DISC. There's about at least 50 different styles that we have, and they all have nuances about dealing with conflict. So you've got to adapt to people. So clashing leadership styles with your peers, your team, can be a real serious cause of conflict. Communications issues. I did a video before about post-it note leadership. If you're not communicating with your team, there's no vision, there's no goals, there's no clarity. I've been working with someone recently where she basically burnt out because there's so much change going on in the organization and nobody was communicating it. And one minute it was this, the next minute it was that. So we're working on that in terms of, okay, what are the signs for you? What questions do you need to ask? Because there was just massive communications issues within that organization. Different work styles, different values. Sometimes you have different professional values. And sometimes if you're somebody that likes to achieve and deliver with somebody who's more into analytics and studying and analysing things, that might cause a bit of a clash because you're at different ends of that spectrum, but you can still come together. Discrimination, obviously. Lack of information, as I've talked about, poor communication and lack of information go hand in hand. Fuzzy boundaries. Fuzzy boundaries. That sounds like a comedian, but it's not. So when I work with leaders taking on an enlarged role, I make sure that they have conversations with their leaders about boundaries. What do you need to know? What don't you want to know? Have those conversations because you don't want to step into a bit of a bear trap. You didn't know what that boundary was. So have that conversation. So what other causes of conflict can you think of? I'd love to hear in the comments. If this is something you or your team need help with, it's causing you stress and burnout, then get in touch.